Art is too important not to share. Welcome to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie, and we're with the Coeur d'Alene Arts and Culture Alliance. Hello!
Hello! Callie, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Allie?
I'm good. My garage is getting clean.
Oh, my God! How lucky are you?
I am so lucky. Oh, my God. Just, the funny thing is though,
was it for your birthday?
Well, supposedly. Of
So-
course, my birthday was weeks ago.
I know, but that's okay.
Yeah,
it's happening.
It's happening.
That's
the most important thing. But the funny thing is, I went in there yesterday after he'd been in there all day, and it didn't look like a thing had happened.
It takes time.
I know.
It takes time.
Well, he's still in there. And this morning when I saw him, I did see one little corner was cleared out.
That's good.
And that was the corner that we haven't seen that stuff in probably 5 years. Because it was all piled on top.
Yeah. Well,
So that's my joy, my victory.
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, my garage is full of all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Old cabinets. My kitchen is getting remodeled, and my
Yes.
husband's doing a lot of the work with my future son-in-law.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm just assuming he's going to be our son-in-law.
Right.
And they have got the kitchen sink in, my French country sink that I've always wanted.
Yay!
The water's not on right now, but that's okay. Yeah, you got to go look at it. It's beautiful. Yeah, we're in our house today. So there's so much going on. So my house is always in a total turmoil and chaos, and we're always in construction mode. And the only time our house ever looks clean is when we get ready to sell. So if you ever see our house clean,
I'll be scared.
yeah, be scared.
Yeah.
Be very, very scared.
When my house gets clean and particularly the backyard,
Yeah.
when we're having a party.
I know. We used to have parties too.
Yeah.
We need to have a party. Yeah.
Yep. It's
we do.
amazing what gets done around the house
I know.
when you schedule a party.
It works. It works every time.
Yep.
Well, I'm
speaking of stuff around the house.
yeah. Around whose house?
Around your house.
Yeah, I think we have a guest today.
We do, and it just happens to be Callie's husband, Stu.
Yeah, welcome, Stu.
You guys must be desperate. I mean,
No, we're not. We're excited to have you because not only are you a wonderful actor and a supporter of the arts, but you are a educational speaker. Some people would call you a motivational speaker. Let's find out a little bit about your background.
Yeah.
that's a nice open-ended question. My background. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
It's interesting to sit here and listen to the two of them talk, and they talk in code, because of course when they say this isn't getting done or that's not getting done around the house, that's because one of the two husbands isn't getting it done. And so to talk about what's happening in the garage or whatever, if you guys start all of your videos this way, no wonder maybe Kevin and I shy away from listening to them. Because I'm a little worried what I might find out. I'm like, what am I doing or not doing? And the two of you will be like, you'll tell me. But you won't tell me, you'll tell your audience.
Oh,
and so,
You tell everybody else.
yeah, no kidding. So it's interesting to sit here and listening to all the things that aren't happening and think after 64 episodes, I wonder how much we didn't get done.
You've done a lot, honey.
We try. We
You
try.
really have.
You know,
You
it's
have.
expensive out there to have other people do it. So,
I know, but tell us about your background.
Well, thank you.
Meanwhile,
I
back at the ranch.
Back at the ranch. So I got my professional start actually with Allie back in
that's right.
1986.
Yeah,
And
Allie's
so,
known my husband longer than I.
That is correct. Yes. And she knows me for different reasons. And so Allie and I go back to 1986. You had actually been with Coeur d'Alene Summer Theater prior to that.
Yes.
Certainly. And in 86, there was a pretty significant turnover of personnel. Not because of any one reason, there just was. And I was kind of a part of that new kind of core group that came in 1986. And so we met Allie, and she and I worked together on that summer, and then 86, 87, 88. And those were the last years at the little Playhouse up on on 14th and
That's
Garden,
right,
what
'cause
is
then we
now the
moved to
Lake City
NIC.
Playhouse. But that was I was 20 when I got hired, and I had my first professional show, my first professional rehearsal, and my first legal drink, all on the same day. Right
Where'd
here.
you have your
Right
legal
here in
drink?
Coeur d'Alene.
It was a place that only the real
Locals would know.
would know. It was called
Lakes?
Fore and
Rathskeller's?
Aft.
Oh, the Fore and Aft.
Yeah,
Oh,
where
man.
they tore
Way
that
back. Oh,
yeah.
It was a
That's
shot of
way back.
tequila, and so I mean it's bartender's choice.
Yeah.
I said, well, what do you think I should have? He goes, your first one should be something you remember. So, there you go. I think he meant first shot. Anyway, so
right.
but the Fore and Aft, now it's owned by the Hagedon Corporation. They have that whole
plaza
the whole plaza
shops
down there.
there,
So
right.
that went away. And so, and that was 86, 87, 88, and then it went dark in 89. And in 90, I took a job with the Missoula Children's Theater, and they are the largest touring company in the world. And right out of little Missoula, Montana, and they send out dozens and dozens of teams that work with hundreds of thousands of kids every year. And that was where you're working with kids and doing theater, where I kind of bridged the gap of, I can do theater and I can work with kids. And that's where the education component came together. And so that was 1990 to 92. And then I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And in 93, I finished my degree. And then all of a sudden, 1994 rolled around. And who should I meet? In 1994, who was that?
I think it was me.
I hope it was you.
Yeah.
Because, it was a crazy night. I think it was you. So in 1994, and that's kind of when everything changed. And so 1994, Callie and I were both cast in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
That's right.
And I was a brother, she was a bride, go figure. And so I floundered for a while, about 4 years, and you stuck with me. And we got married in 98, and then I got my bachelor's degree. I'm sorry, I had my bachelor's degree in theater.
You had to get your master's.
I had to get my master's degree. And in order
And you
to
got the master's in theater?
Yeah, I have a Bachelor of Arts in theater, and then I have a double certified master certification in education. All that really means is that I kind of doubled down during my MAT classification, and I got multiple certifications. And that's where everything changed, was education became my focus, and I love the theater. The theater is great. I've done a lot of theater work. I've done over 125 open and closes in my life, probably more than that actually.
Well, you opened a theater in Hillsboro, right?
Yes.
Century High
Yeah.
School.
So my
You became
first
the
teaching
drama
job,
teacher.
exactly, and that's right where we were, 97, 98, is, brand spanking new. I walked into at the time, now $7 million might not sound like a lot, but in 1998, $7 million theater facility that was mine. We had box seats, orchestra, pit. We had push button electric. I mean, it was a dream come true, and my dad was so proud. Oh, he was proud. And I did that for 3 years, and then I quit. And he was so mad. He was just like, don't you understand? If you stick with it, you get retirement. You get, as he called it, the Cadillac of insurances. Why would you walk away from that? And I'm like, well, Dad, I want to be a motivational speaker. He thought I was crazy. He said, Stu, don't take this wrong, but I think that's a bad idea. I don't think you're going to like it.
And how many years have you been doing it?
This is my 23rd year.
Yeah.
my God.
So I guess it was the right choice.
I think it was the right choice.
You did well.
Yes. And so if we that was the 7-minute version of getting to like right now. So I am a full-time educational speaker.
What made you want to become a motivational speaker?
I wish it was glamorous and sexy. I wish it was something that I could say, there was some epiphany or a light bulb or some moment or something. But it was quite simply somebody asked.
Oh.
That was it. It was just like I liked what I was seeing in this arena. I was brand new to it. I actually just got trained in a program, come and learn how to do this program. Take it back to your school like 1,000 educators have done. Go off-site, learn something really cool, bring it back to your school and share it with everybody.
Right.
Well, that's what I did. I went, learned something cool, brought it back, and I went, but that's so cool. I think I want to do that full time.
Yeah.
And so I kind of inquired, like, do you have like places for me to work? And he says, strangely, yeah. how would you, kind of careful what you wish for. And then one day I just kind of got this phone call that said, yeah, you know what? How'd you like to leave teaching? Just maybe take a year leave of absence and come do this full time. I'll train you. I'll teach you everything. And I was kind of handed a career on a platter.
Oh, wow.
And that doesn't happen. Anybody could wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to go be a speaker. I speak English. I have a working vocabulary. I have some stories. But it's like, okay, well, why don't you just go and, be a rock star because you can sing and play a guitar. There's thousands of people who can play guitar and sing, and many you've probably interviewed and thought, how come you're not famous? Why are you not on the global stage? We love you as an artist in our community. You are celebrated here, but why not globally? What is that thing? Well, it's hard. You don't just wake up and go do it.
Right.
So I had a great mentor and I had a great teacher. Maybe not the perfect human being, but a perfect mentor and a perfect teacher. And so for 5 years, I learned everything that he could teach me. And then, as things happen in transition, I created my own company. And guess who named that company?
Who?
Callie did! Callie! I said, I need to start a company. This is 2006. I need to start a company. I think we need to go into business for ourselves and not work for other people doing this crazy. And I said, what is it that it's about theater and it's about education? Theater, entertainment, education. And she says, well, I think you should call it the Ovation Company.
Standing up for what's good in schools.
I love that.
Boom. And it was bam.
Yeah, Callie, that was brilliant.
Isn't she
I know.
good?
Every once in a while, I get one good one.
Oh, no. It's more like every twice in a while. It happens a lot.
I'm good at naming things.
You
That's
are
about
really
it.
good at naming things.
Yeah.
If you're out there thinking, hey, what do I want to name something?
Call me.
Call her. She's really good.
Yeah.
Call me. There's like lots of songs that come in.
Yeah, I know. I was listening to Debbie
Harry.
Yeah. Saying, call me.
Call me.
Yep.
We're going to edit that part out.
Oh, maybe not.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
So, Callie came up with the Ovation Company, and then why would we give an ovation? Because it's outstanding. It's better. It's that we have to leap to our feet, and so we thought the concepts of the Ovation Company, which are rooted in kindness and rooted in positive, interactions with people, choosing kindness first. And so it was also that meld of education and entertainment. And Callie and I coined a phrase that we call edutainment, because, like I said, anybody can wake up tomorrow and be a speaker. Go, great. But why would a school pay you, retail, take and interrupt their whole day, take away precious minutes of seat time for their staff and their students to come listen to you? Well, you better have something to say that's worthwhile. And it doesn't matter, even if you had the best speech on the planet, it doesn't really matter if they're not engaged, if they don't like it. It kind of comes down to, do we even like you?
Right.
And if they don't like you, then it doesn't matter. I could have all the data, all the statistics, everything. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Hey y'all, it's Jason from Tubbs Coffee Roasters. We are North Idaho's specialty coffee roaster. We are homegrown and we are local. We love coffee and we love our community, especially Allie and Callie and ArtCast. We have a retail space in our roastery in Hayden, and we can also be found on the shelves at Super One and Yolks. And if you like to buy coffee online, we do offer subscriptions. You can find us at tubbscoffeeroasters.com. Support arts and culture and your local roaster. That's all.
So, Stu, why don't you kind of take us through a little bit about how it all works? You obviously travel and you go someplace. What happens?
Well, yes, travel. Holy cow. I have 1.1 million points with the International Hotel Group. That's like the Holiday Inn Express people. I have 500,000 miles with Alaska, and I use those miles. And I am 51,000 miles away from being an Alaska million miler, which means I will be their top tier for the rest of my natural born life.
Wow.
So yes, I travel a lot. And so I speak to about 120,000 students in a non-COVID year.
Right.
Prior to COVID, I would average about 120,000 students. And so over that career that we just kind of covered, it's about a little over 1.5 million has been my reach.
Wow.
in kind of my 23 years or so. I wasn't speaking to that many in the beginning. So, but it's really interesting that my day is not unlike anybody else's day, and that it becomes extremely routine. Mine just involves, I will get on an airplane and then I will land someplace, get in my rental car, head to my hotel, and wake up the next morning, and I walk into an environment most of the time I've never been in before. Brand new school, brand new auditorium, or a brand new gym. Most of the time it's gyms. It's the only thing big enough to hold maybe 1,000 or 1,500 students at a time. Somebody will introduce me. Crazy how often that is a really poor introduction. I mean, really, really poor. Yeah, like I won't tell you where, Chico, California. However, it was bad. And then they'll hand me a microphone, and then I will talk to their greater student population for about 55 to 60 minutes. And it's kind of try to be right around one class period, a traditional class period. And I am just me and a mic. And it's strange because in today's world, they'll say, well, where do you want the screen to come down? I don't need a screen. Well, how do you project your I don't need a projector. Well, how do you do your files? And I'm like, I don't need any of that. And I'm old school. First of all, a lot of schools don't have that. They don't have access to that technology. Right. But I don't rely on anything. It's just me and a mic, and sometimes as many as 2,000 kids in a day. And so I learned very quickly, kids are really honest. And they will let you know pretty quickly if they like you or interested in you. If think of their environment. They're coming in on a Tuesday and somebody says, oh, there's an assembly today. And they're like, oh, well, what's the assembly about? Oh, I hate, and they're coming in with their routine interrupted. And then they walk into a gym, they cram them all in, and then they say, we've got this guy, and they're looking for him, right? They're looking around, and they kind of spot me, they think, because they don't recognize me. And then they're like, that's the guy? And sure enough, here's Stu, and I come running out to the center, and they're looking at me, middle-aged, kind of just this side of bagel-colored skin. Look like I'm trying too hard. I'm wearing a hat, and I kind of have like a 5-day shadow on my face, and it's all a ploy. But they're like, why should I listen to this guy? Like, why? And they'll be courteous for a couple of minutes. But if you don't get them within a couple of minutes, then they don't care. Right. Like, I'm not getting graded for this. I'm not going to get punished for this, And so you have to, that's where the edutainment comes in. There's a,
So what do you do?
Yeah, well, give us an example.
I'm going to come out. Usually what I start with is just the obvious, and I learned this a long time ago. If I can't fix it, feature it. Because when they say this is Stu, everybody giggles. They just do, because they think that's such a name. It's like a stew. There's Stuart Little. He's a rodent, and Stewie on the Family Guy. He's got an egg-shaped football head. They only know Stu as square or the butt of the joke, and so I usually start with my name and Stu, and I will talk about first of all, if I'm just glad my last name's not Pitt, that would be bad, and they giggle too. But then I've got a whole bunch of stuff. There was one, my favorite is I was literally in the Denver airport, and my middle name is Dwayne, but I fly and I'm Stu Cabe. If I'm on Southwest Airlines, I get Stu Cabe. If I'm on American Airlines, it's Stuart Dwayne Cabe, right? But if I'm traveling on, Frontier or Spirit Airlines, because I lost a bet, I will be Stu D, and they squish it together. And I'm not kidding you. I'm sitting in the Denver airport, and I hear this, can we please have Stud Cabe come up to the podium, please? Stud Cabe, if you're in the boarding, Stud Cabe. And I didn't know what to do. All these people are looking up from their cell phone like, who would call their kid Stud, man? That's a lot of pressure, And then they said it again. You're Stud Cabe. Come on, I got a seat assignment for Stud Cabe. So I just pop up, and all these people are looking at me, and I'm, once again, they were disappointed. So I might start with just 2 or 3 things about my name, or that my name is in the alphabet. PQRSTU. So anyway, and there's some silly things, and because if they're going to giggle at Stu, and then they would used to giggle that I'm from Idaho. Oh. Yeah, until Idaho became cool. Oh. Idaho's cool now because they know so many people are leaving some of the places I go. Colorado, massive, Washington State, right. California. Those people are craving Idaho.
Cool now.
You are cool.
Cool.
So it used to be that people would say like,
feel cool.
I don't feel cool. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, but they'd like, you live in Idaho? Like, on purpose? And I'm like, yeah. So you got Stu, who lives in Idaho. Those are the first two things they hear before I even take the mic. So I address both of those things. And I talk about just very briefly where I'm from and all of that. And then, believe it or not, I start with my routine and how my routine of getting a car, going in the hotel, turning on the TV at my hotel, and then going to bed. That one routine changed my life because
Are you going to tell the story?
I'm not going to. No, it's long. You don't want me. I can do it in. I could probably do it in 2 minutes.
Do
Okay,
it.
It's normally a 25-minute story.
Because you are known as the big elephant guy.
I am. Okay, so
So I
then
think you should
that
tell
would
it.
lead to, give us an example. What is the crux of what I talk about?
Yes.
And when you hear motivational speaker, and forgive me, but I do have to take a second because this is extremely critical, especially to the profession, is that when you hear motivational speaker, a lot of times what you're probably expecting is somebody's going to come in and tell their story of struggle or their story of triumph or their story of fighting and scratching and clawing and getting to whatever it is and fixing something or in the process of fixing something.
Right.
Classic stories of somebody who was overweight and lost weight, or somebody who came from extreme poverty and fought their way through, or came from no education opportunities and now have a doctor's degree. And you hear about these people that went through extraordinary things that we would want to hear about. And once again, if I go back to, nobody can see me, but I am a middle-aged, straight, white male living in the United States. I kind of won the lottery, and I've known this for ever since the beginning of my career. So I thought in the very beginning, how can I stand up there and say, woe is me? Boy, you should look at how I struggled. Look how I triumphed. Look at, and then, and how even in now, in these last 3 or 4 or 5 years, how even more on that would fall on deaf ears as we are celebrating and elevating and championing diversity. And,
Right.
And so I got maybe lucky or smart, but I don't talk about myself at all. I'm the narrator for things that I have seen that helped me grow and learn. And as the narrator, then they can get lost in the narration, and they're not talking. It's not about how I learned or how I grew. You should be more like me. So that's really critical.
Right.
Right. So I'm known as the big elephant guy because we're talking now close to 20 years ago. My routine, get my hotel, put the card in, go in, turn on the TV, and whatever comes up, that's usually whoever was watching TV the night before. It's ESPN or it's a news channel. And it was Animal Planet one night. And I normally turn that off because I end up crying. Literally, don't you? Doesn't everybody cry? Even the puppies running through the field, I tear up, right? So usually 2 things happen. I either cry or I donate money to the Humane Society. Thank you, Sarah McLachlan. So I don't usually watch. But at like 1:30 in the morning, I got sucked into this episode, and it was a detective story about trying to figure out why so many elephants in Africa were dying. And all the usual suspects, hunting, poaching, maybe disease or old age, they had ruled all of those out. And they finally narrowed it down to they were starving, didn't have enough food, and that's mostly because of us people coming in, chopping down the trees and so forth. And they had a bigger problem that this influx in elephants dying was not going to go away. So a bunch of really smart people said, we need to move these elephants to a refuge. And they found one 300 miles away, millions of acres protected, but they discovered it was hard to transport a 20,000-pound animal safely.
Right.
So their brilliance was, let's move the little ones. Okay, we can put 4 or 5 in a truck, drive them the 300 miles, come back. And if we move a bunch of those, then maybe we can put everything back in balance. The little ones grow up on the refuge. The big ones don't have to compete for food as the little ones get bigger. And on paper, that sounded fabulous. So that's what they did. And I'm literally about to go to bed thinking, oh, what a great little story, how they saved the elephants. And I'm almost going to turn the TV off, and they go, stay tuned for part 2. I'm like, oh, there's a part 2. Part 2 is 6 or 7 years later, and there's a phone call between the refuge and all those smart, people. And they went on to basically say, your elephants are out of control. And they've targeted one particular species, the white rhinoceros. And at the time of the filming, there were less than 500 on Earth of these white rhinoceroses, 100 on the refuge. And they were calling these people that saved the elephants and said, and your elephants killed 36 of them. And normally, they are natural enemies, but they aren't natural aggressive enemies. It's
Right.
more about territorial things, right? to kill a white rhino is very rare. To kill 36 of them is out of control.
Right.
So the smart people and all these really, dedicated to, animals, they couldn't solve the problem. And then they killed the 37th, the 38th, the 39th, and nothing they would do would curb the behavior. It was not only so out of the world, out of this world crazy, nothing they did would stop it. So they're about to basically euthanize all these elephants. When the park ranger says, hey, I know I'm not a scientist, I haven't been in all the meetings, but where are the big elephants? Like, I know this is huge, 1,000,000 acres, but where are they? He says, oh, well, we didn't bring any. Well, who's teaching the little elephants to grow up and act like big elephants?
Oh.
And everybody stopped. And smart people have smart people excuses, and they could show data, they could show, trends, they could show all of these steps taken, and they finally had to admit we didn't think about that. So they brought in, I'm almost done, I promise. They brought in, they could only afford 6 big elephants. That's all they could afford to safely transport in their park. And the moment they backed off the truck, there was an immediate little elephant kind of surge, and the big elephants are like, what are you doing? Shut up. Well, the first aggression that the little elephants showed towards a white rhino, the big elephants literally charged over, intercepted, dropped their trunks, and started shaking them back and forth, literally saying, no, that is not what we do here.
Wow.
And within, I'm not kidding you, 24 hours, the little elephants started to fade, but they were watching big elephants do things that they had never seen before, like throw mud on each other's back instead of just water. Water will cool them just for a moment, but if you throw mud, it becomes a barrier that protects them, right? So they started mimicking all the things that big elephants started doing, including behavior. And the last thing they show as this is coming to an end is the little elephants grabbing onto the big elephants' tails and following them everywhere. They don't actually do that in nature. That's a trick that we teach them. They don't actually grab onto each other's tails. You've seen it, though, in like Dumbo and cartoons and so forth. The only reason an elephant would grab another elephant's tail is to say, hey, slow down, don't leave us behind. And now the little elephants were grabbing onto their tails and following them everywhere. And
I see why you cried.
And then the caption...
I
know. And then the caption comes up, and it just said, 6 big elephants, not one more dead white rhino.
Wow.
And so these 6 elephants came in, and they brought what had been interrupted: culture, how we operate, what good manners are, character. And then I start comparing the big elephants and what happened. It was tragic. It wasn't their fault. To human behavior. And where are the big elephants on your campus? What are the little elephant behaviors that you're seeing? What do we need to look at and say, that's not what we do here? Right? And so if I can sum up in 1 minute, I'll tell them. That was a 25-minute story. I told in like 6, I hope.
And
7.
he does it with a lot of physicality
and
a lot of humor,
very,
too.
Very physical.
It's a great story. I think you can see it online even.
I think so. But I talk about big elephants in history. I will go back and say, 175 years ago, it was perfectly fine to own a human being. It was perfectly fine. But it was some big elephants, and we give a lot of credit to those big elephants that came and said, no, that's not what we do here.
Right.
And it changed. It didn't change overnight, but it did. Or 100 years ago, women couldn't vote. Well, why? Because you're not a man. Well, no, that's and big elephants came in and that changed. Or, within my lifetime, within just about 55 or 60 years, these people had to sit at the back of the bus, or these people couldn't sit at this countertop. And some big elephants came in, and they come to your mind. That's not what we do here. And even just a few years ago, it was perfectly fine to say to somebody, you can't marry who you love. And some big elephants came along and said, of course you can marry who you love. And who knows what the next big elephant cultural shift in our world is going to be. But it's not about, and just so you know, I don't ever call kids little elephants. I call their behavior little elephant behavior.
Okay.
Because here's what's brilliant. Those little elephants literally became big elephants overnight. They just had to say, okay, it starts now. So even if a kid is struggling with their past or background, or struggling with how they got to this moment, you get to control tomorrow's moment, and the day after that, and the day after that. And if you think in your brain, oh, Stu's labeling me, no, you don't have to be. The moment that you just say, I'm not going to be, then you're not. And it's really that simple. And the little elephants didn't choose their environment, but once they were shown, this is what we want it to look like, then they had a choice. And they said, yeah, you're right. That's not what we do here. And that's basically a life-changing story, but I'm the narrator of the story. It's not about me. My learning is equal, I hope, to their learning. The only difference is, I know, and you can't see it, of course, but I have my big elephant, little elephant tattoo on my forearm.
Yeah.
And I got that 4 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So that is an example of kind of my work, trying to educate. That's what I do.
Come see over 40 unique vendors at the last Coeur d'Alene Flea Market of the year. Find us on Sunday, September 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Roosevelt Inn in downtown Coeur d'Alene. We are a local nonprofit that donates our proceeds to charities, both local and global, and your support this season has meant everything to us and our community. Let's celebrate one last time before the cold weather. Bring a friend and we will see you at the Flea.
All right, so Stu, you've told the story. You've got their attention. They're paying attention to you. What happens now?
That's a great question. It is a little subjective. It's hard. Sometimes kids will say very beautiful, lovely things that Callie has actually witnessed, like today changed my life, or today I had a kid write me a letter. I was thinking of hurting myself, and because of today, I feel like I'm going to be strong enough. I can get through this. And I would say I might have been in the right place at the right time for that person to hear the right message, but I never give it credit. I just think that there was a connection, a click, that it was just good timing, because that doesn't happen for every student. And it might be, maybe I got them to a thinking point, and the very next moment they have is the one that clicks for them. So I just know that my moments are coupled with other people's, that my one moment isn't the end all be all or the reason why. There was just enough moments before that mine clicked. But sometimes then you get kids thinking in a different way. And I had this one young man, I won't use his name, but it was years ago in Oregon, and he was doing a workshop of mine. So not only doing a large assembly, but then followed up with a couple hundred kids in a workworkshop. Very intense.
5-hour workshops.
Yeah, about kindness, how we treat each other, and being nice is the avenue, like, to kindness. Like, it's like if I told you to be angry, just be angry. Well, you could try to be angry, but how? Something has to lead to that. For me to just look at you and say, be kind, there's no difference. So how do we get to kind? Well, it's using the words nice along the way, and then kindness becomes who you are. It's not an action word. It's a destination, right? It's a title. So I use nice and kind kind. Nice might sound like a directive, like I'm pointing my finger, be nice, like don't do that. But be nice is a reminder of what's the end result. It's kindness. Kindness is the result of us attempting to be nice and making that who we are. So this one young man came in for a workshop, and the first thing I noticed about him is he had this huge head. He had a big head, and I'm going to notice things. I'm not making fun of him. You're going to notice if a kid's in a wheelchair. You're going to know. I'm describing what I saw. And he did this whole workshop. And he got to the end of about 5 hours, and we're literally trying to close the thing down. School's going to come to an end. Buses are waiting. And in the bleachers, in a sea of a couple of hundred kids, this hand flies up, and I look up, and it's this kid. And I thought, with 2 or 3 minutes left, like, well, hey, do you have a question? He's like, no. Can I just come down there real quick and say something on your microphone? Well, I've learned I don't give up the microphone. I just don't, because I don't know. I can't anticipate, even though it might come from a heartfelt place. I don't know if he's going to stand and scold or complain or say something. So but I said, okay. And the moment he pops up and starts walking down the bleachers, all the kids start to chatter. They do what I call an aside, where they're looking at each other and making comments, and you can feel the energy. The comments weren't kind.
Right.
They were like, look at this kid. Oh my gosh, it's that kid. Oh, look at, and I immediately like, this is not going to go well. So he comes down, I hand him the mic. He says his name. He said he was a junior. He says, I walked in today that we were going to do this kindness thing, and I thought it was going to be stupid, but it wasn't, because I think today is like the best day of school I ever had. Like, I didn't know that high school could feel like this. Like, I've had people talk to me that have never talked to me before, and I like it. So I'm just a little worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. So I just want to make everybody a promise, and my promise is this: if you say hi to me in the hallways, I will say hi back every single time. Now, what I discovered in that moment was he was saying, can I provide you an alternative? Because what kids were saying is stuff like, oh, here comes Mr. Potato Head. Hey, how'd you fit through the door? Hey, if we tied a string to your foot, would you float like one of those Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade floats? I mean, that was his reality.
Yeah.
And then he's standing in front of 200 kids going, can I shift your options to just say hi? I'll say hi back every time. But then he says, but I can't on Thursday. and we're like, what? What's going on Thursday? And we giggled too, like this moment. And he goes, oh, Thursday. Yeah, I can't say hi on Thursday. I'm not going to be at school on Thursday. I have to go to the doctor. I have a brain tumor, so I'm not going to be here on Thursday. And then hands me the microphone back. And I'm like, did this kid just say, this is why I don't give up the microphone, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Anyway, and he just goes to sit down, and then he stops, and I'll never forget it. He stops, and he turns back around, walks right towards me, and I just hand him the microphone. And he takes it, and he looks right at the audience. He goes, oh, and just in case you were wondering, the tumor is not because of the size of my head. And then hands me the microphone.
Oh.
And then the bell rang. School's over. Day's done. There's no recovery. There's no, there's no like, okay, everybody, be nice out there. Nothing. There's no way to recover until I realized kids aren't leaving the gym. Like I can see the buses through the window. Like they should be leaving, and they're not. Moving. Nobody's leaving. And I discovered that this kid ended up by the exit, and a line had formed to shake his hand and pat him on the shoulders and say, hey man, listen, you hang in there. I got you. I'll take notes for you in math class on Thursday. And he's got this flurry of activity, this big old smile, tears rolling down both cheeks.
Oh my God.
Which,
I know.
which of course begs the question, why did they wait to find out that he
Has
was
a brain.
struggling with the brain tumor before they were nice to him?
Right.
See, what schools who are progressive and hiring folks possibly like me is that we're not waiting for something bad. We're trying to be proactive and promote good.
Yeah.
And to remind ourselves there's a human being on the other end, especially, because now there's so much more sophisticated ways to do this.
Yeah.
For all of us in this room, school used to stop at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, or 3 o'clock on a Friday, and then you wouldn't see anybody for a weekend. Now it's 24/7, and it's not just 24/7. It's 5 or 6 or 7 different avenues to get to you. There's texting, there's Snapchat, there's all these things.
All these things.
And by the way, from what I understand, they removed the tumor. And 3 months later, it was benign. He was, and I actually saw a post from him several years ago on Facebook that he was celebrating the anniversary of it, 10-year anniversary. So,
wow,
yeah,
good.
lives in Central Washington, from what I know, and doing really well.
Good.
But those are the things that
But
somebody.
it's also be kind, because you don't know what everyone's going through.
Yeah, you don't know. Like
It's
if everybody,
a good message.
Yeah, if everybody had a chalkboard that they could write every morning, just dangle it around their neck, like
That's
this
another
little,
story Steve
another
tells.
story.
That rip your heart out.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
but imagine if you had a chalkboard that you could write on every single day, that you just hung around your neck, just kind of hung there like a little your personal billboard, and it told the most important thing that you needed to know about me today. Now it could be celebration. It's my birthday. Imagine how many high
Be
fives
nice to
you
me
get.
today. Yeah.
Or I don't feel good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Stay away from me, a little petri dish. Or
Yeah.
Or it could just be, my parents told me they may be separating, or we had to put a pet to sleep. People would treat you differently.
That's right.
But we don't have that chalkboard. We never will. It's a concept we've talked about for a long time. So our only weapon, truly, is to fight back with kindness and to say, I will do everything in my power to not make you feel bad, because I can.
Right.
So, and that's intentional. So I got a cool job.
You
I
did.
got a cool
Cabe,
job.
I am so happy that you are here in the world.
Well, it's been a long time coming. In that 22 years, I've learned a lot, and so I'm at that point now where I'm just old enough to say I think I got some stuff to share, but not too old that I can't do it anymore.
Right.
He's
And
good
I-
at his job.
And I do
Right.
woodworking too.
Well, I know, yes. So I know that COVID was pretty damaging to your business.
Yes.
And
We lost
you came up
82%.
right. So you came up with an alternative to spending your days. Tell us about that.
Well, very briefly, I had to make money, so I started building decks. I built furniture for a local business downtown. And then we started doing some woodworking and putting my modest little workshop into a little bit more higher gear, where I could start producing things like cutting boards, charcuterie boards, looking to build tables and butcher blocks and utilitarian type of art where it would be utilized. And because the word art, I never thought would be attached to my name unless I am Stu Art. Stu.
You are Stu.
I am Stu Art.
are
I'm
no
Stuart.
Stu Art.
I just put that together today. I had never, ever thought about that. That's a first. I am Stu Art. Why didn't that should be my nickname. That's literally my name, Stuart. Stuart.
I know that.
How could that not make my business cards?
It's a light bulb moment.
I had a light bulb moment. Stu Art. That's my name. How
That's
could
all you need is
So
Stu
yes, and
Art.
I with Callie and that's what I'm going to do whenever I retire from doing this crazy work.
Yeah.
I will. I love my job. I love what I do. I don't like being away from home. I'm gone about 130 or 140 days a year. But when I'm home, that's where I find my joy.
Yeah.
And some people have found that they like it. So we've been selling some, and people like them.
Well,
So
you did very well during the studio tour.
yes, it was we were
Which
hopping.
was awesome.
Studio
fun.
tour was great. We
Got
sold-
some commissions. and-
Yep.
Yep, lots of people liked it, and our supply is down, and now we're in the business of building it up.
Yep.
Yay.
That's right. Thanks.
So this is what you guys do. This is pretty cool.
Isn't that
I
fun?
just can't imagine all the folks that you've talked to.
We've
and
talked to so many cool
I hope
people.
when people,
You're on the list.
I am. Well, thank you.
That's right.
Number 65 or whatever.
I think you are 65.
Am I 65?
Or
Or
64 or 5.
I think.
But
Well,
you know,
we'll check
one
it
of
out.
those.
You're
Anyway,
one of them.
you're up there.
64 or
Wow, thank
65.
you. Well,
Yeah.
I do hope that should somebody have listened to this all the way to the end to know how hard these three ladies work, and
Oh.
how grateful I am that you've said, hey, we'll get you at least in the top 100.
How do we get a hold of you? What's your website?
1-800-CALL-STUD. No, that's not. That's definitely not.
That's a private line.
Isn't it
And,
ovationco.com?
Yeah, Ovation Company. Yeah, just Ovation Company.
Ovationcompany.com.
Yeah, .com, and there's an 800 number there that you can utilize.
And
I think you
bet-
have some videos on your website.
Yes.
They are
too,
there.
that
They are a little. They actually, you know what? They're 90% intact. Things changing more for the years, but they're pretty much.
Yeah.
And so they're on YouTube. If you should Google, Stu or Stu Big Elephants, or that'll
Stu
all come
used
up.
to talk before the pandemic. He spoke to all the fifth graders for many years
in Kootenai County.
in Kootenai County. Because our kids were in the system. That sounds terrible. In the system, they
She's
were
doing
in.
air quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal. So a lot of kids in the area.
Yeah, a lot
know
of the kids would know me.
You're
so,
the elephant guy.
Yeah,
You're the big
yeah. I've
elephant
actually
guy.
been in Costco. Like, I saw you speak when I was in 5th grade.
Yeah.
So they would
been around.
up until the pandemic. The 5th graders from like 17 different elementary schools, they would come Post Falls, Rathdrum.
Yeah,
Kootenai
on
County.
MLK Day.
Yeah, on Martin Luther King Day, and I was
Yeah.
their featured speaker, and we would of course tell the big elephant story, and then talk about how much Martin Luther King is credited with certainly that movement, but then as the big elephant, the central big elephant that said, hey everybody, this is what we do here.
Right.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So
Well, I know I'd be telling a story, and I'm going to because I know my son doesn't listen either. Byron was substitute teaching, and you came to speak, and he heard you, and he said, I think I have a man crush.
oh my goodness, that's so cute. That's sweet.
Very
A man
sweet.
crush. Well,
Aw.
I always do like it too, because the stories, I don't want to, I like it when young men, young boys, young people, but especially the young men, can feel that kindness is okay, that being compassionate and empathetic, because they struggle with that, and they're like, well, I didn't even know, like, empathy. What's empathy? I had a 5th grader, just very quickly. He schooled me on empathy, and you feel free to completely use this, anybody that got it this far in this thing, but I said, do you know the difference between sympathy and empathy? He's 11. He goes, of course I do. I'm like, well, why don't you tell me? He goes, you watch football? I'm like, yeah, I've watched football. He goes, okay. A guy gets tackled really hard. Have you ever went, oh, yeah, I've done that. He goes, did you get tackled? No. Why'd you react? Because you know how that hurts, right? That's empathy. I'm like, oh, damn. I was like, damn, that's good. I'm like,
That is
okay.
Good.
Okay, that's great. What's sympathy? When he doesn't get up. Oh, I'm just like, I was like, he's like, so do I pass? I'm like, oh, you pass. I totally got schooled. Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, empathy is getting tackled really hard, and sympathy's when.
So I want to just say on the last, just a little to spool it up here. How do you feel the kids are right now?
Oh.
In the fall of 2022, they are struggling.
Yeah.
Very, very much so, more than I've ever seen. It makes sense. But imagine 2 years of complete and total interruption from role models, from learning from the sixth graders, learning from the eighth graders, the do's and don'ts. Imagine being programmed to say, that they didn't have to have their computer screens on when the teachers, so they would all turn them off. So a teacher was teaching to 26 black squares because they were not required.
Right.
So for a year and a half, a teacher was teaching to a microphone and a camera that they could see, but all they had to be was logged on. And because there was no requirement, there was you couldn't do it by law. However, that meant for a year and a half, or almost 2 years for some school districts, I don't have to talk to you, I don't have to talk to you, I don't have to talk to you. And then you come back and throw some of these kids 2 years later. My comeback, because I heard this on a TV program, is that they're like sixth graders in an eighth grade meat sack, right? like their brain is sixth grade, their body is eighth grade.
Right.
Or their brain is freshman, but their body is junior in high school. And they have had stunted cognitive development. And I didn't care. I'm going to say this, I don't care. I don't care about the math that they lost, and I don't care about the science or those things can be retaught.
Right.
My
Socially,
and how we communicate.
We need to take
some
care
of these
of
kids have not shook hands with somebody in 3 years, and some of these kids don't know how or why that's such a part of our culture. And but just talking to somebody, they don't want to talk to each other. And then when they do, I was going to schools last October, they were averaging 5 fights a day.
Wow.
A day. Yeah. And and those things certainly, I was a part of helping those go down. But 5 fights a day, that's just, you're running from emergency to emergency to emergency. And the cortisol in their system is just pinging, and it's explosive. It's really tough. And it's tougher on, of course, the teachers. Yeah. The teachers had to, they had to shift and make adjustments more than any other profession there was. Every other profession was, if you worked in a meat factory, you still went to the meat factory. You just had to wear masks or this or social distance or whatever. No, teachers. Everything you do live, got to do on camera. Everything you do, computer, everything. It was huge. So they're struggling. Be patient with them. It's going to take a while. And
it's going to take some big elephants.
It's going to take, we need some big elephants to say this is what we do here.
Support. Support your kids. Support the teachers. Be there. Listen and,
Yep. I had a nurse said, I spent $180,000. No, sorry, a counselor. $180,000 in her education. 12 years of public school, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and then a counseling degree. She said, I spent $180,000 to learn these 2 things. Listen and be nice. She said, I just saved you $180,000.
Yay.
There you go.
We love you.
Oh, this was a treat. What a treat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Stu
that.
Cabe.
Thank you. Mwah.
Very nice to meet you.
Mwah. Nice to meet you too. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. I
later.
appreciate that so much. Now they're like, oh, just end this thing, people.
No,
please.
it's great. This has
good.
been really great. You can also come buy some boards from Stu Cabe.
Stu Art.
Stu Art.
Do art. Some
Yeah.
art.
From Stu
Or the
Art.
Stu D. Remember Stu D stud?
yeah,
That was Stu D
Studio.
O.
Studio.
I know.
You
There's
got
so
a lot
many
of fun things with your name.
options.
See? He's funny. And maybe you can catch him speaking sometime in the near future.
You're
Who
always
knows?
welcome.
Yep.
You're always welcome. But just thank you very much.
Thank
honey.
you. Appreciate
I
it.
appreciate it. And get back to work. Finish that kitchen.
Go finish that kitchen.
I'm just kidding. But not really.
Not really.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Right.
Anyway,
I'm Allie.
and I'm Callie. And whatever you do today, be kind and creative.
Amen.
The Callie and Callie Artcast is a program of the Coeur d'Alene Arts and Culture Alliance and is sponsored by NIA, North Idaho Alliance, a woman-based leadership organization designed to inspire, uplift, and impact your community and lives. And Tubbs Coffee Roasters, globally sourced, locally roasted coffee.